Clip her up.
Sherman traffic, Cessna 200 Bravo, departing 34 southbound VFR Sherman traffic.
So I flew up here to hang out with a buddy of mine for lunch, and I was thinking about my process of going through and getting my private pilot's license. And the one thing that everybody is most, nervous for or working towards is their check ride, to actually get their certificate and go meet with the DPE. And I wasn't super nervous. I felt pretty prepared. I did my check ride at right around 50 hours. I think it was 48 or something like that. And I felt prepared for it, but there were a few videos that I watched that made me feel comfortable, because the reality is from what I understand, your DPE is not looking to fail you. Like, this is not something that they're out there really going, oh man, I'm going to get this guy. They just want to make sure that you are trained up to the standards that the FAA has set to make sure that you are qualified and ready to pilot an airplane on your own. So, my DPE, my check ride with my DPE, I had one that was scheduled, but then I had maintenance issues, weather issues, all kinds of stuff. And I found a backup for a reschedule that was actually a little bit sooner. It took about 2 months from the time that I was feeling ready to when I actually got to do the check ride. And one of the things that I'll say really helped was watching these two videos that I've linked below. They're mock check rides. Now, some tips that I have for you that I followed that made my check ride pretty, uneventful was having a plan going in. And there's certain things on the standards that you're going to be tested on. You're going to be tested on, the ability to fly a proper pattern, to do short field, soft field, all those things. Make sure that you're ready for them. But the biggest thing is if their DPE asks you, why did you do that? You don't answer with, because my CFI told me to. They want to know the actual reason behind it. So know your aircraft's limitations from the handbook, the POH, and know why they are what they are. For example, in my 58-172, when we do slow flight, I would do slow flight with 30 degrees of flaps. Now, this 172 is manual flaps, and it goes up to 40 degrees. However, we didn't practice slow flight in 40 degrees because this 145 horsepower engine in the summer in Texas with 40 degrees of flaps and a couple half tanks of gas, it's really hard to maintain altitude. There's just not enough power to really maintain altitude in very high density altitudes when it's hot out. So when we went out, I clicked it up into slow flight and got 30 degrees of flaps in, and she looked down at it, and I was prepared with the answer, okay? I was prepared for her to say, well, is that full flaps? And I had a whole answer backed up, but here's the thing. She didn't ask why I didn't use full flaps, so you know what I did? I shut the hell up. So this is the biggest tip that I can say for your check ride is if you're not asked a specific question, don't volunteer extra information, because you can only talk yourself into a don't pass. What is not a disqualification, but whatever, the non-pass. I'll put the word down below. You can talk yourself right into that by talking too much. So if I was asked a question, like for example, what does this magenta area around the airport denote? I would give the answer and stop. And if she asked, if my DPE asked, well, what else can you tell me? I would ask, well, what else would you like to know? And I would get very specific questions, because you don't want to start down a rabbit hole of answering things that you might get tongue-tied and you might have wrong. So that's the biggest thing. Keep your answers very short. Don't volunteer extra information, because it can lead you down a rabbit hole and you'll talk yourself right out of your certificate. The next thing is have a plan for some of the maneuvers. So we did the whole thing, and she did one of my simulated engine outs. And when she did my simulated engine out, I found a suitable landing spot on field, and I did my mayday calls, did the checklist. So always have a checklist, even if you don't really do it all. Like having the checklist there and say, I'm looking at my checklist, it's very good to do because you need to have your checklist. So when I was going in to land on my off-field landing, I didn't add any flaps. I did a slip. I said, oh, I'm a little high, I'm going to slip it in. And so I slipped it in until, and she actually made me get down to about as low as I want to go before she said, okay, we're good, let's go around. Now she said, why did you slip it in? And I said, well, because I was high, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to make it to the field there. I didn't want to pop flaps too early. She goes, well, you could have popped them, you know, earlier. I go, yes, but I felt the slip to a landing. I'm comfortable with it, and I got it done. So what I did there was I got my slip to a landing and my off-airport engine out emergency procedures done at one time. So as much as you can kind of plan out your maneuvers, and I know some people on here are going to be like, oh no, that doesn't work, just do whatever your DPE wants. That's fine. You do whatever you want. This is how I planned it, that I was going to do the slip to a landing on my off-airport landing or my emergency engine out so that I could kill two birds with one stone. So I didn't have to do a slip to a landing before. We did my short field and my soft field landings. We did another emergency landing in the pattern, and then did basic maneuvers. And also my airplane, the nav radio and the VOR weren't working, so I had NOP on there. And she looked at that for a second and said, well, how are we going to do VOR? So I said, well, the handbook and the you know, the requirements are that I show one navigational aid. I can show you GPS, I can show you GPS, I can show you GPS on ForeFlight. And she said, hold please, looked in, you know, the requirements and the regs and said, okay, yeah, that does suffice. So it is one navigational aid, not necessarily VOR to VOR navigation specifically. So having the understanding of your airplane and how you're going to do your check ride, watching the videos below just to understand that you know, your DP isn't out there to get you, it's going to take a lot of that pressure off. And if you're prepared, you're prepared. If you're not prepared, you're not prepared. If you can't maintain your altitude, like right now I'm kind of slipping, I'm down 150 feet from where I want to be. But if you don't fly practicing maintaining your altitude within plus or minus 100 feet, you don't practice your steep turns, you don't practice your S turns, your turns around a point. Oh, also that's another thing. If you fly a really tight pattern, your DPE may not ask you to practice turns around a point because, or not turns around a point, but you know, square turns, but I guess it would be turns around a point. They may not ask you to do that because you've demonstrated your ability to fly a very tight pattern. I'm looking out the window here, and see, this is the other thing. ADS-B is fantastic, but man, you get ghost images all the time, and all of a sudden, this guy just popped up around me. So I don't know if he's actually here or what, but I've been looking, and I don't see him anywhere. Anyway, so yeah, if you have really good tight patterns, you're very confident in all of your radio work, you're confident in your ability to short field, soft field landings and takeoffs, you know, you're going to nail it. Just know that your DPE is not there to nail you. They're there to make sure that you are ready to fly to standards. All right, so I'm coming in. I'm 24 miles away from F69, Air Park, Dallas, which is right underneath the Class Delta of Addison. So I'm going to go ahead and get the weather.
Roger, confirmation Kilo 1947 Zulu, weather observation, wind 290 at 5, visibility 13, sky clear, temperature 12, dew point -06, altimeter 3003. Visual approach, runway 34 in use, all VFR routes, Addison, contact regional approach on 124.3. For IFR clearance, RVFR flight following, contact ground control 121.6. All IFR parts of the body tower as well, IFR, advise us contact, you have Kilo. At confirmation Kilo 1.
Approach Cessna 89er Chandler Bravo over Aero Country at 2,500 inbound Air Park with Kilo.
Where are you landing?
Air Park, Dallas.
29 Bravo, squawk 4654.
4654, 29 Bravo.
29 Bravo, you're ready to contact Cleveland Bravo 2500 or below. Resume on navigation. Kilo is current at Addison.
I've got Kilo, resume on navigation, 29 Bravo.
Number 29 Bravo, Addison Towers, 126.0.
Switching to tower, 29 Bravo.
Tango Bravo.
26 Tango Bravo, roger. Off at Golf Taxi to Atlantic V Alpha, monitor ground 0.6. Have a good day.
Off the down, 0.6, Atlantic 6 Tango Bravo.
Addison Tower, Cessna 800 Channel Bravo with you at 2000.
Moment separation is good. Number 46 Lima, clear to land.
Clear to land, 46 Lima, he's getting off.
Hey, Berman, sir, we still have production. We already have 3,000 feet between you guys, even if you weren't still on the runway. Number 892 Bravo, Addison Tower, Addison altimeter 3003, wind 340 with 7, gust 14. Verify what you have, Dallas Air Park flight.
29 Bravo's got the weather and Air Park is in sight.
Number 29 Bravo, roger, remain east of my departure course at all times. Change advisory frequency approved.
Change to advisory approved. Will remain eastbound of your center line all times, 29 Bravo. Air Park traffic, Cessna 29 Bravo, 3.5 miles northeast inbound, 34 Air Park.
God, this is weird because I got to make right traffic. Now, normally I aim for that church there. I'm going to aim right up here because I'm on right downwind, right base, right final. It's all right, which is wrong. All right, gas, undercarriage is locked. Mixture, prop is spinning, seatbelts are fastened. And it's going to be gusty. All right. Oh shit, you're full. Somebody's battery died. Well, we'll see how this goes. He's dead.
Air Park traffic, 29 Bravo, right downwind, 34 Air Park.
We'll be passing to the north about 2 miles at 1,800 feet from flight traffic.
Air Park traffic, 29 Bravo, right base, 34 Air Park.
So I'm going to give a little more space. I didn't really square this.
546 Charlie Alpha is crossing the midfield for left downwind 434.
Air Park traffic, short final, 34 Air Park.
I have a lot of runway.
Hillsborough traffic, we'll have skydiving activities in the next 2 minutes over Hillsborough.
Finish traffic 546 Charlie Alpha is downwind 434. This will be a
Northwest Regional, Bonanza 9017, Quebec, 51 meters left downwind. Over 35, Northwest Regional traffic, Arizona Golf, just departed Northwest Regional, it is pointing to the northwest, I'll look after the Bonanza.
Wind's actually changed to be kind of nice at the end there.